So, Star Wars Outlaws has finally released, and when I first saw a trailer for this game, I thought, oh my gosh, I get to actually live my smuggler dreams. That was before I realized how gilded this game was actually going to be, and it's real disappointing. The second I saw Ubisoft, I was like, I don't know if I want to trust these guys anymore. And a Far Cry Star Wars seems like something that we would all enjoy and actually want, but this is a Far Cry from a Far Cry game. Story is something that I probably care about the most, and this game doesn't really have it. Really, Kay, our main protagonist, just kind of wants to stop being poor, get rich. They're not introducing enough elements of action for me to engage with Kay herself. Basically, what I mean by that is her want and desire to get rich and to stop being poor is no real different than my want and desire, and it kind of comes off to like, well, that's the only similarities, or that's the only thing that connects me to the character, rather than showing me what she truly desires and what she's willing to sacrifice to get what she truly desires. A lot like the beginning of Cyberpunk really connects to how Star Wars Outlaws is, where Cyberpunk, you see what it means to them to kind of not just get rich, but to become famous, to become living legends. But the problem is there's no such thing as a living legend in Cyberpunk. So there isn't kind of that issue where our character has a desire, but the obstacle to obtain that desire kind of contradicts their goal, giving them conflict in the story. The only conflict in the story is kind of more very plot driven. And where I don't have a problem with plot driven conflict, this one is just like, oh, stuff is happening, so watch out, or oh no, you have to do this now. Or sometimes it's just used to introduce a character like the Rebel Alliance, or to introduce you to scenarios that you're like, hey, remember this from the movies, or remember this from this thing. And I think they do a decent job at the Easter eggs and the member berries, but I don't know, it never feels engaging. It never feels like I myself am gonna want to do more of this, or I'm looking forward to more of what's happening. And when the music gets really dramatic and tense, and we're supposed to be in trouble, or there's just like a chase scene that's supposed to be happening, none of it hits. I feel like I can take all the time in my world. I don't feel like I'm part of the story, and it just doesn't ever engage the audience for that part. So right off the bat, story, not something to come into this game for. In terms of gameplay, the mini games I've actually had the most fun with, playing Sabacc and also playing the arcade games or doing some of the other things. I think like the lock picking is kind of gimmicky. I like that they tried something new and they try to make it feel like a slicer. You know, I just feel like Bethesda's got that all down. I feel like when you hack in Fallout, you feel like you're actually like a computer hacker going in there, even though it probably has nothing to do with programming. Same thing with like lockpicking in Skyrim. They do have moments to immerse yourself into the game, like finding food and cuisine around the world so that you can eat with Nyx, your little pet. And those moments are cute. I feel like they drag on a little longer. I couldn't help but think, oh, wow, I'm doing QuickTime events for eating food. And I was like, man, remember the God of War QuickTime events where, you know, you would romance the goddess of love, or, you know, maybe you'd go into a brothel with Kratos and those QuickTime events. See, like I had more fun with those than eating with Nyx, and those were quick. The Nyx ones were like, man, yeah, it's cute to watch him catch popcorn kernels in his mouth mid food, but after that it's like, okay, I don't want to continue moving the directional stick to shovel food into my mouth and watch this. The reason I brought up the game is gilded is because it's actually really pretty on the outside, well, mostly pretty, but whenever you kind of get down into the gameplay and the game design, it's a lot of just moving from point A to point B. And even though most games are designed in that facet, they do a lot of things to trick you or to hide the fact that they are just getting you to go from point A to point B by giving you a variety of tasks to do. Star Wars Outlaws doesn't really do that. A lot of times I found myself like, if there was an event happening or something happening, they were more or less the same of, oh no, we're being attacked, or there's two different factions fighting each other and we have to help one side or the other, or we have to sneak in and grab something and run away. The most annoying parts are the multi-step side quests where you go somewhere only to realize that you need to go somewhere else, only to realize that you have to talk to someone or you have to do something else, and it just turns into fetch to fetch to fetch, where in other titles like Batman, you may come across an entrance of a building and the game is already kind of directing you and showing you like, hey, take a side entrance because the story has affected you to not be able to do it this way. And even though Star Wars Outlaws is kind of doing the same thing, the story has affected you to not do it this way, it's not done in a way that's convenient or fun for the players. It's done in a way of like, yeah, we know you went out of your way to go this way, now let's backtrack and go all the way back over here, instead of already kind of setting you up for what they wanted to tell you or show you. And it just makes the game feel punishing. And that's probably the biggest issue with this game. It is more punishing than challenging. Whenever you stealth, it doesn't feel fun. Whenever you go into combat, it doesn't feel fun. There are too many factors that get involved into the game, where I heard from other reviewers talk about how the combat makes you feel like you have to be more strategy and do all this, and it's just not true. There's no strategy involved when blasting people. It's just your blaster doesn't do a lot of damage. They don't give you a lot of agency to get other guns. If you do pick up other guns, they're a one-time use, which honestly, I'm okay with that. But simply like going and punching an enemy, trying to go back into stealth, any other action you do outside of shooting that gun will force you to drop the gun. It's designed in a way that doesn't facilitate fun. And so mixing up combat with stealth, even though is something that seems like the game wants you to do, it in no way rewards you for coming up with your own way of playing it. Matter of fact, if you don't play it a specific way, the game will just constantly punish you. And I really tried to play the game my way and do things that I wanted to do, but I constantly got punished and was made to restart a checkpoint over and over again. And this is just kind of baffling when we have a bunch of stealth games to kind of go off of. We have Metal Gear Solid 4. You have Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. Both of these stealth games I've played, and they've had great stealth mechanics. Yeah, whenever you go and you hit an enemy, they have like an AoE that goes off that alerts everyone else. But in Star Wars, it feels like I'm playing a PS3 game or a PS2 game. Dude, PS3 and PS2 games were made better than this game. And it's ridiculous how if I don't do something a specific certain way, the game is so hardwired and programmed that it does not care. If a stormtrooper sees me from across the map, there's no indicator telling me how long it takes before the stormtrooper alerts everyone. It will either immediately alert everyone in the room, maybe it'll alert people in their vicinity, maybe, and it's not always accurate. And you could be right about to stealth take down someone, and then they turn around and see you, and instead of the game just being smart and being like, okay, you're going into close quarters combat, so get some QCQ in and take him down before he does anything, it's just immediately, oh, let me alert everyone in the area, let me activate my AoE aggro and attack the main character. Okay, no big deal. Now we're in combat. Let's just pull out my trusty blaster. Let's get Nyx to jump and bite some ankles, and let's take out everybody in our way. I prefer a straight gunfight to all this sneaking around. Considering you can get overwhelmed crazy easily, the covering system is relatively good, but only if something is waist high, so you can crouch over and then shoot on the other side of. So there's not really a mechanic for vertical cover, and the barrage of blaster fires that can come at you will kill you really fast. Plus healing, unless you upgrade it, takes a long time to activate. Takes a long time, and if you get shot, absolutely interrupted. It gets to the point where it's like it just feels better to run away and come back and try again. And that's kind of what the game is forcing you to do by overwhelming you with all these things. Now, if you are able to pick up a sniper rifle or pick up another gun from an enemy, you can start mowing them down. it's kind of just ridiculous how the blaster you have on your side doesn't do anything. I would love to feel like I had the DL-44 at my side, but they only want you to dress up like Han Solo. They don't actually want you to be as powerful as he is. And speaking of costumes and things like that, not only, yeah, I get that we had the controversy with Kay, and I really think her haircut does most of the disservice, but if we're getting Han Solo outfits, why am I not getting slave Princess Leia outfits? I mean, I'm telling you, sales would immediately go up if we got a slave Princess Leia outfit for Kay. But a lot like how Leia choked the life out of Jabba the Hutt, I kind of feel like the creativity was taken out of this game. It's too grounded. And even though the space combat feels all right, it's decent enough. I mean, you already have a spaceship Star Wars game that you could go off of. From what I've played, there haven't been those moments like in Jedi Survivor. Like moments where you get into an AT-AT and you start shooting down the other ones, or moments where you find a secret boss that is actually a little more difficult and is just an elite in that area and you feel good for taking him out. Just an optional enemy that you can take pride in and feel accomplished for. In terms of actual world design, gameplay design, as of what I've played, nothing has really stuck out and made a memorable moment that has got me excited to just boot the game up again after work. Now, I will say, even though they were unable to really reinvent the wheel for lock picking and hacking, I really like the choices between the different gangsters and the crime syndicates. This isn't like a morality choice like you do in Mass Effect, where it's like, oh, be good or be renegade. This is more of just like, who do you want to piss off? Who do you want to be aligned with? There are some little story moments that happen with it, and you yourself get benefits as a player. It hasn't made for like huge strides in the game, mainly because there's nothing about the story that makes me want to lean towards one person or the other. As of right now, the way I see it is, oh yeah, Crimson Dawn from the Solo movie, and you can join the Hutts. That's like Jabba the Hutt from the original movies, and then there's the Pike syndicates from the Clone Wars TV show. Like, yeah, which one do I want to side with? When you look at everything that Star Wars Outlaws has to offer, it's not a 7 out of 10 game. The story lacks action and doesn't give the proper conflict to our protagonist's desire in order for us to feel engaged with them. Mini games may be fun in the game, however, the core concept of the game of picking up quests or listening, eavesdropping on things, or reading data pads to figure out how to bet or find lost treasure feels like just a ton of fetch quests that just chain together in no creative way. Stealth and combat, the main focus of the game, has a meta gameplay value that is more punishing than challenging to the players, creating less agency and just making the game not that fun. Star Wars Outlaws is pretty to look at for the most part, but it feels like they just painted it with gold to cover up something underneath. At best, this game is a 5 out of 10. Until next time, guys, play nice. Hey, I'm Mario. I like playing video games, watching movies, and Dungeons and Dragons. If you keep getting me in your suggested videos, or you're watching this video right here, consider subscribing. It goes a long way. Thank you.